What's going on, everybody? It has been a little while, but we're back. We are finally back on YouTube. I'm going to start posting consistently again. I'm sorry for the long delay. It gets kind of hard to make content with the type of content that I do in the off season during football. And also, I've just been super busy. I've been super busy about to launch some pretty cool stuff that I'll be able to tell you guys about. But anyway, we're back with the football content. The season's upcoming, and we're going to start covering some recruiting stuff as well, just like we used to. But today we're going to be covering Texas. So, Texas just got a new commit, a very big offensive tackle commit. So, we're going to kind of talk about him a little bit, just run some stuff by you and just let you know what I think you should know. This ain't going to be too in depth like usual. If you are familiar with my videos, I'm not a major analyst or anything. I'm just on here for the fun, providing you the type of content that I kind of always wished I had, breaking down some recruits because I love the recruiting side of it. So anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So the Texas Longhorns just picked up a big offensive tackle commit in Brian Swanson. So he's a four-star offensive tackle from South Oak Cliff in Dallas, Texas. So he is staying in state, which is no surprise. When you do look at Texas recruiting, you got schools like Texas Tech, you got schools like Texas A&M, and then obviously the Texas Longhorns, some others as well. But those are the big three that you mostly have competing for these big-time recruits in state. And Texas does go out and land him. He is listed at 6'5.5", 315 pounds, making him one of the more physically impressive offensive tackles in the entire, or offensive linemen in the entire class. He comes from a program that's consistently produced tough players. And, South Oak Cliff has been one of the better high school programs in the entire state of Texas when it comes to developing players and, just overall, just good team players or good teams is what I'm trying to say. But they did go on a state championship run, speaking of that. But anyways, he is around the 200 overall mark in the 2027 class. Okay, so yeah, 135 nationally by 247 Sports, and then by composite is 177. So yeah, right around around the 100 to 200 range, kind of give or take on whichever platform you look at, or not platform, but whichever consensus you look at. But anyways, he had multiple SEC offers. Like I said, Texas, Oklahoma was another big one. So to beat out Oklahoma is very big. Beating out LSU with the new Lane Kiffin recruiting is very big. Obviously Texas A&M, like I said, and then Alabama had some interest as well. Obviously, like I said, does land at Texas. But when you look at his size and his frame, the first thing that jumps out is the build. He is 6'5", 6'5 plus. I think he's 6'5.5", I said. Over 300 pounds. He's already has the body type that you want to tackle. He's not really a project where Texas needs to add 50 pounds to him or whatever. So you do see a lot of guys coming out of high school that do have to go in. They do have to add a lot of weight. He's already got the size to him, which I think is a big step in terms of his development. And I think that you'll see him on the field quicker than some of these others. He already looks like a college offensive lineman based off when you look at film, when you look at photos. He just looks massive. You know, a big thing is playing offensive tackle with that size. You know, he's he's still in high school, so offensive tackles aren't fully developed in high school, obviously, and it's going to be tough to see, or it's going to be interesting to see if he can handle the elite edge rushers because I don't know how much speed there is moving up in competition. He looked good in college, or looked good in high school. That's why he's a four-star recruit, almost five-star. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's any offensive tackle that you do get in recruiting classes. He has very good run blocking, so that's really where he separates himself, which I think is going to be very big in Texas's game. You saw them go out and commit a lot of money to or two, yeah, so two running backs in the transfer portal, and I think that's going to be a pretty common thing that you'll see with Texas. I think you'll see them start to beef up the run game a lot. If you do even look back at Bijan Robinson, ever since then they've at least tried to have a very solid running game. I know it was a little lackluster last year, but this coming year you have like Hollywood Smothers and Malik Brown. It's going to be at the top. It's going to be at the top of the country. You have one of the better 1-2 punches, and you beefed up that offensive line, and I think that's exactly what they're doing here as well. So you're getting some good run blocking offensive line. Gets vertical off the snap, very good. Creates movement, finishes his blocks, which I think is very good as well. And any college team is gonna look at that in a high school player and want him immediately. And he looks comfortable playing in a physical offense, which I think is another thing that could translate over to the college level. Now, when you do look at his pass protection, the biggest thing that you will notice is obviously his natural size. Like I said, it's going to be tough to see, or not tough, I keep saying tough. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles the speedy elite edge rushers off the edge at the next level in college. But that's where the developmental stuff comes in play. And I trust Texas staff to do that. You'll see it. And I think you'll see a big jump in that this year as well. But he has long arms, very strong base, which does give him a chance to develop into a legit pass protector. So that's not really a worry for me. I'm not too worried about anything outside of speed because that is a very big body to be in high school. So the speed's always a concern. But, I mean, there's technical stuff that you could fix. And that's just part of every player coming in and being developed, so his movement ability does stand out. I know I keep mentioning speed, but he does move very well. He does move pretty well. He can get out into space. He can pull. He can climb into linebackers or climb to the linebackers. And he shows good coordination as well. There's areas that he does need to improve. Like I said, hand placement is an issue that I've seen and that I've also heard some other people talk about, like many young tackles. His hands are going to get wide at times. Against college defensive ends, technique does become very important. And like I said, that's just part of the developmental side that you will see. Now, footwork versus speed rushers, basically what I'm talking about. I do want to dig into that a little bit. So the SEC, they're full of elite edge rushers that you see year in and year out. You look at the NFL, a lot of these elite edge rushers come from the SEC. And if you look at a lot of the elite edge rushers in college football right now, you see a handful of them in the SEC. I'm not saying every single one of them, but there are a handful of elite edge rushers in the SEC, obviously, because it is one of the big power conference, maybe the big power conference. But anyway, he does have a size advantage. And he has NFL level bend. He has speed to power moves, counter moves. I don't know. Texas, they've made offensive line a recruiting priority, and they know the SEC is going to be a war in the trenches. Just like if you look at the Big Ten, it's kind of similar to that, and you see a lot more of that going into the SEC now, which, I mean, you've always seen it. But, Texas just being kind of freshly stuck into the SEC, they are still in that, I wouldn't even say rebuilding phase, but you're still trying to adapt. You're still new. You're still new to the big power conference, and they're adjusting very well. They adjusted fast, too, I would say. But, he just gives another elite building block, in my opinion. They have young developmental talent up front already. And you add Swanson, just continues to stack the high-level linemen, and I think that's just a big pickup for Texas. So, yeah, like I said, not too in-depth, but just want to give my thoughts and opinions on it. If you are a Texas fan, greatly appreciate it if you did consider subscribing. Let me know down in the comments how I did, or let me know, not really how I did, but if you enjoyed this. Let me know if you enjoyed this, because we're going to be doing a lot of Texas content coming up. The recruiting trails are really starting to ramp up, and Texas is one of the top teams in that. So yeah, just if you did enjoy this, consider subscribing. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.